Hello there, BookTube. My name is Daniel. Welcome back to my channel, Guilty Feet. I am your father, and I've got no rhythm. And today I want to do the ratings and review tag, the review and ratings tag, originated by fabulous Nell and Scott at Convey Fiction and Plot. And I was very kindly tagged by Mark Nash, who wondered if I ever do tags. And I think this is the answer to that question. I, for once in doing this, is like I often, when I come to these things, if I don't have to pull books down, I just like to talk off the top of my head and not do too much research. For once, because of the nature of this tag, I actually attempted to go into Goodreads and start looking, because it's all about ratings and how do I rate, blah, blah, blah. I went to, and Goodreads is down. So the best intentions have paved the road to this particular hell that you're going to have to sit through. I would urge everyone. First of all, I think this is great. This is a great tag, and I've watched a bunch of them. Just watched Cena at Beat Around the Books, and Steve Donahue did it, and Courtney Ferreter did it, and Hannah at Hannah's Books did it, and Mark, who tagged me, just did it, and I watched his today. And I urge you to watch them all, but specifically Mark's. There's going to be parts where some things I say are going to absolutely mirror the things that he said, which going to render most of what I say redundant. But he comes at it from a perspective which is totally different to mine, and it's really fascinating to hear him talk about relating to his reading and the way he feels about books, coming to it as a writer. And my perspective is whatever. I think it's 180 degrees, but probably 37 degrees off that, because I come to reading as a reader. I'm not a writer. I don't think I'm ever going to be a writer, and I made my peace with that a while ago. So my review style is purely as a reader. So there'll be areas where I overlap with what he said, and I think there's areas where we're a little different. But definitely, if you have to choose between this, if you've got 20 minutes left to live your life, and you have to choose between watching Mark Nash's version of this and this one, which he's responsible for because he tagged me in, watch his. Okay, first question is to tag folks, and I for a while I haven't done it, but I actually came up with some people to tag who I haven't tagged in a while, and I thought I would give them shout outs. Fraser Simon's a springboard thought, always interested to see how he does things. Mark, Book Time with Elvis, the cheekiest chap in Czechia. How you doing, Mark? How's Elvis? I haven't interacted with you in a while, but I've been watching your videos. Take care, and I'd love to see your version of this. Melissa at Fully Booked, I've exchanged comments occasionally with Melissa. I think she's great, and watch her channel. And Melissa, if you want to do this tag. And Carrie at Very Literary Carrie, who was the first person who ever tagged me, and again, I feel like I haven't commented for a while on any of your videos, Carrie, but she's great. Go find her and watch her, and she's great. Okay. Question 2. How do you know if you just finished a good book? Is it a thinking or a feeling response? Very much a feeling response for me. I read, I've said this before, I have an impressionistic sense of reading. So yeah, I'll read for plot, and I'll read for story and character and all the things, and I'm much better, I guess, on a plotty book rather than a sort of book of the mind, but I'll read those as well. But either way, my sense at the end is how I felt about the whole thing and whether it worked for me. And yes, that might be something to do with my mood going in, but for me, reading is very much, a lot of the heavy lifting has been done before I open page 1 of the book. In other words, I'm quite careful about how I curate my reading. I choose what I'm going to read ahead of time. I've listened to other people's opinions, or I've looked things up, or things have come up on my radar for whatever reasons. And so I usually have a fair idea going in whether it's going to be something that I'm interested in because I've read the author before, or I'm reading a series, or it's something new, but it's intrigued me because of XYZ, whatever, the strange things that pique my interest at different times, so that at the end of it, I usually my response, my feeling response is, yes, that was kind of what I was expecting, or whoa, that was so not what I was expecting. And then of course, I think about it, and I'm mulling things over, and how what my relationship was to the particular format that the author chose, but more it's about my experience, my emotional is a bit much, but my response to the book as a whole, and part of that is what I thought I knew going in. I had lunch with someone this weekend who was a big reader, and she was saying that she but picks up books on the street. She goes to one of these free libraries where people drop things off, and she'll go for a walk there on a regular basis, once or twice a week, and pick something up and take home and read it just because it's there. And first of all, after they picked me up off the floor and revived me, I was like, well, no, I'm so much more measured and cautious about what I start reading that I'm unlikely to ever be completely surprised by something I've got no idea of, and have to work through those kind of emotions as well. When you begin to form your review rating, what is the first question you ask yourself? I got no idea. Did I enjoy it? Was it a good experience? Was that a positive experience of reading? And as I say, mostly the answer I know before I go in. But of course, there are occasions where one gets surprised, either more than I thought it was going. Got more out of it than I thought I was going to, or less. Do you do star ratings? Why or why not? So every book that I read, I enter into Goodreads and I give it a star rating, but only because Mark gave the same answer. Only because Goodreads asks you to, and I'm kind of a rule follower, and they say give a star rating, so I give a star rating. But it's kind of meaningless. It's not like I can remember what star ratings I gave anything, and my star ratings are very bland and sort of one-dimensional. I'm certainly not on the thing. Would I give half stars or not half stars or quarter stars? Would I be happy at rating it A through F or out of 100? I really don't think in those terms. As I say, my star rating is mostly, well, put it this way: I think the highest or the largest proportion of the books that I've rated, I've given 4 stars to, and 4 stars. I made a note of what the Goodreads ratings are supposed to mean, and this or there. So 1 star is didn't like it. 2 stars was it was okay. 3 stars liked it. 4 stars really liked it, and 5 stars it was amazing. And it tends to be I think the largest proportion of ratings I give are 4 stars, which is supposed to mean really liked it. Now, the difference between liked it and really liked it, I couldn't possibly tell you. I have given out 1 star reviews of books that I didn't like at all, and I usually have reasons why I didn't like them. I don't often give out 2 stars, which means it was okay, which it was okay should be it's okay. But I think really, if I'm being honest, a book that I find okay probably gets 3 stars. And part of the reason why I think my grades are inflated is because I kind of respect the fact that the person's written a book in the first place. And for me to give it a very low grade, it must have irritated or offended me in some way. So that even, I've spoken before about hate reading 17 books by Ian Rankin, 17 of the Rebus books by Ian Rankin. And even at his most irritating, there were plots that rattle along. There was nothing that made me throw the book across the room. And so I again, if Goodreads was working, I could go and check this. But I think I probably gave them 3 and maybe even 4 star reviews, even as I was hate reading the series. Whereas a book like We Need to Talk About Kevin, which really, really upset me and irritated me. I don't know if I even get. I think it might have been before I was putting these Goodreads, but I think I would give that a 1 star rating. I think Gone Girl, I probably gave a 1 or 2 star rating because it just really ticked me off at the end and frustrated me. The worst book, I think this has come up in another tag, maybe what was the worst book you ever read? I think the worst book I ever read was The Celestine Prophecy, which I read because it was a thing at the time, and I went into it cynical, but it was really shit, and that would be 1 star. Rupi Kaur's Milk and Honey is just drivel, doggerel, appalling thing. That's probably a 1 star. That was the answer. If yes, explain your star rating system. What does a good book get in your rating system? Most books get a 4. Most books, the highest proportion of books I think get a 4, because if I've had a good experience and it did what it was supposed to do, then that's probably a 4 rather than 3-star rating. For something to get a 5-star rating, it has to at some point have astonished me or pleased me in a way that was an unexpected delight, probably. But given that most of the stuff, given that the day I crack open the book and read the first page, I'm probably predisposed to like it. I don't think, I think that's why most things get 4 stars. But there are plenty of 5-star reads. Something that's really just every word was a joy. The Martin Amis book this year, Piranesi, Jonathan Franzen's Crossroads, which is it's a 4-star read is anything that's competent and has been positive, but a 5-star read is something where you're in the hands of a master probably, or lightning has struck, and this is something unexpectedly wonderful. Is your star rating consistent? Probably not. I don't remember. I couldn't tell you which books I've read were 4 stars and 5 stars. I might suddenly, I could look in Goodreads and say, I gave that 3 stars at the time, and I remember it as a sort of normal 4-star read, but at the time I decided it just wasn't 4 stars. I don't know. I don't think it's consistent at all. What language do you use to convey the quality of a book in your reviews? I listened back to a few videos, and I tend to call things terrific and positive experience, as I've already done in this thing. I try now, and I have done for the last 3 or 4 years, to write a paragraph or two, and I post those on Goodreads. And again, I don't just pay any of you to read them, but I go back and look at those, and there I actually construct a couple of sentences rather than just talking extemporaneously and falling back on that was terrific, and the author has a really clear-sighted view of what's going on and whatever else. I've lost my questions. So yeah, I think in my written reviews, my language is very simplistic and probably reductive. I try, when I actually write the reviews for good reason, and sometimes not more than a sentence, but sometimes it's a couple of paragraphs, and I actually try and formulate a coherent thought. So for me to go back and look at what I thought, that's really the record for me. But language is not. When I started doing a booktube, I just decided I wasn't going to script everything and write and spend hours and hours finding le bon mot, and so this is what you get. Sorry. Do you believe every book has its perfect reader? Does this contradict the idea that a book can be bad? Does a book have its perfect? I don't know. I'm not really sure what that means. A book can certainly be bad. It's subjective. Everything's subjective. There's no such thing as objective reviewing. And the other thing is, of course, that I've mentioned before, that I don't reread. I have no doubt that there are books that I've read and had one response to that if I reread them, I could have a different response to. Maybe I would like something more. Maybe I would like something less. Maybe I would dislike something I liked. I don't know. So I think timing is kind of plays into where I am in the world, where I'm in life, and that's when I read the book. That's when I read the book, and that was my response to it at that point, that week, at that point in my life, and I'm okay with that. Does a book have a perfect reader? I don't know. I mean, be a reader. Read what you like, and own your response to it, or read it again and have a different response and own that as well. We take responsibility. I take responsibility for what I'm reading. That's I think that was the discovery after leaving school, after studying literature, and reading books that were set for you, buying a book for myself, choosing my next read, and not having it given to me by someone else, or serendipitously falling from the heavens and that, read this, it's landed in front of you. No, actually going out and curating my reading means that I am at all times the perfect reader for whatever it is that I'm reading. What book that you hated have you recommended? I don't know. I mentioned Gone Girl earlier, which I really took offence to because it's so manipulative, and the ending is so unsatisfyingly awkward and I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But I might recommend it. If somebody came to me and said, I really want a page turning, exciting thriller read, I might say, read Gone Girl, because it's 500 pages. I couldn't put it down. I was turning over. I felt used. I felt like I was in an abusive relationship with the author. But not everyone feels that way. Some people love that book. I haven't gone and watched the film, even though I love David Fincher, I love Ben Affleck, and I would like everything about the film. But the book made me feel so used that I have gone and watched the film. But someone else, I know plenty of people have positive experiences with that book, and I might say, if someone came to me looking for something, I might hand it to them and say, try this. I've given books to my mother-in-law, which I know I haven't liked. I've lent books to other people, which I know I haven't liked, I guess. But a book that I found really offensive, I probably would not recommend. What makes a book good or bad or great by your evaluation? Is it? Does it have wit? Does it have? Does it take itself too seriously? Does it do what it's supposed to do? Does it offer you what it's supposed to offer? Is the contract between the author and the reader being honoured, or is in some way the author sort of performing or masturbating in front of you in ways that I can't really get along with? Is it about character or plot? I think I'm probably more plot than character, but anything that is shows insight and has a, maybe I come back to this word wit, but has some element of humanity and reality and empathy, I can get along with. That's why I find Tolstoy so just at the peak and the peak of humanity and War and Peace, which has all those great battle scenes. There's plenty of war, but it's the inner workings of a 16-year-old girl and a 35-year-old man, and the beautiful way of seeing inside another human being and understanding what makes them work that I find as appealing as anything else I could read. What makes a book bad? A book that takes itself seriously, or is incompetent in some ways, or is doesn't respect the reader, is self-involved. I think those are things that I sort of am put off by. When evaluating the quality of a book, do you have specific criteria or aspects of the book, such as character development, that you consider the change you're writing in depth review, or just the... Yeah, I think I've probably covered this. I just think about the book for enjoyment. I think about all books for enjoyment. And I've read harder books, tougher reads for me, but it's all about whether enjoyment's not great. I talk about having a positive or a negative experience with a book. So something like a Girls Are Half-Formed Thing by Emma McBride, I did not have a positive experience with that book. I found that the language stilted and the fragmentary thinking and the stream of consciousness word soup to be too much of an obstacle for me. I don't think it's an objectively bad book. I don't even think it's a subjectively bad book. I think it was too smart and too different for me, but I understand that other people love it in a way that I think there's plenty of books that I've loved that other people haven't appreciated. But I didn't enjoy. That wasn't a positive experience for me. So it's less about enjoyment, and just I couldn't find my way into any continuity with that book. Number 9. Do you consider star ratings or average ratings when choosing books to read at UWR? I haven't found a star rating that I would trust. No. So Goodreads, obviously not, because everything is between, practically every single book on Goodreads is between 3.7 and 3.9 or something. It's completely, just meaningless. So even though I rate and contribute to that meaninglessness on Goodreads, I certainly wouldn't trust anything that it does, and also it's very popular. So, and something that may be a good but obscure book might have a really low rating, and something which is just dross and crowd pleasing might have a high. It's of no interest to me, and I'll read things that are not interesting, and I'll read crowd please as well. And so, no, the star reading is not one of the things I really look at. I'm interested in hearing other people's thoughts, and again, I'll get an impression of the way someone talks about a book, or the way a review talks about a book will give me a sort of impressionistic sense of whether I want to add it to my TBR. Who on BookTube does reliable and interesting reviews of books that you know you can use to decide if a book is for you or not? I don't think I get a lot of reviews from BookTube. And I know that sounds like I like watching BookTube to hear people talking about books, and just being in a world where people are discussing books. One of the few people I think that actually reviews books who I really pay attention to is Mark Nash again. So hi, Mark. And I'm not, most of what he reviews may not be for me, but occasionally we overlap, and he makes me want to go out and look at things. He's okay, so I'll do it for Mark, because I don't mention David Markson, then he will in one of his videos. And I mentioned recently in a comment on one of his things, saying he gave David Markson as an example of something. It was a novel about novelists, and he used David Markson's "This is not a novel" as an example. And I said, yes, I know. If we're going to remain friends, I need to read this at some point. And his response was, "You're going to hate it." Now, so I'm about to, the laptop's on my knee, so you're getting the full impact of my giggling. I thought maybe I still want to read it because of the way you've described it and the way you've spoken about the book, and I probably will at one point. But I appreciate you anticipating that I may not have a positive experience with it. What makes the reviews so good? He's a proper intellectual, and I appreciate his views as a writer of the books that he reads, and I just think he's an interesting view. But other reviews, people. So Fraser Simon, who I tagged at the beginning of this, has done a couple of these videos that I've watched where he talks about 60 books that he's read in the last month, or 50 books, whatever it is. It's an astonishing number of books that he reads in a single month, and each one he gives like a one sentence sort of summary, and they're just brilliant. And that also, he's surfacing things that I may not have come across or read, and I just find that fascinating. So yeah, I like that as well. And Duncan McCurdy, who I've often mentioned, is somebody who's very focused on a genre of books that I also care about, which is spy books and thrillers and noirish pulp from the sort of 40s through to the 70s, 80s, and we have a lot of overlap there. And I've taken a lot of great suggestions from him, because he really knows that world, and he's really explored it, and I dabble, and so he's given me some great recommendations as well. Those booktubers use different language than you to evaluate and review the overall quality of a book. Well, I just think Mark is much smarter than I am, and so and worth listening to. And the other people, I don't think I'm terribly articulate when talking about books, except I like, if all I can do is express my feelings. So that's kind of what I do. Give my impressionistic feeling of that was a good book. That was not a good book, because this book made me feel happy, and this book left me a bit disappointed. I'm not sure I have much more insight other than that, but I like talking about books, so that's what you get. And I've just done it again for 25 minutes. God bless, it was a great tag. Thanks, Nell and Scott. Thanks, Mark, and take care, everyone. Bye.